first accessibility setting that we're going to look at is the speak selection. In order to enable that, we need to go to the settings app. And if we can look here, the settings app is kind of grey with a few little cogs in it. So, settings, and then we need to look for general, just down here. There we go. Now, as I said, we're looking for the accessibility settings, so if we scroll up here, we've got accessibility just here. Now we'll be going forwards and backwards to that selection throughout the course of the session, so don't worry if you find it difficult to find it then, you'll get to know where it is. Now, we're looking at speak selection, so we need to turn that on. And now that menu's popped up, you'll see that there are various different options here. This option is quite interesting, so you can have different dialects for the voice that is being used. So we could have Canadian French, for example. There's options for Mexican English, Irish English, but today we're just going to look for British English, and we're going to go back to our speak selection area. Now we can change the rate of speaking, so we can make it very, very fast.
Speak selection reads selected content.
Or we can make it a little bit more manageable.
Speak selection reads selected content.
And a little bit slower. Here we have an option to highlight the words, and particularly if we're looking at users who may need support with their literacy, this can be a very important option. So we're going to click on the option there and make sure that's selected. So we don't want it off, we want that on. So just to recap, we've enabled speech selection and we've highlighted the words. Now, we just go back now to any of the apps really, but we're going to go into Safari, and in order to get the iPad to speak, we just have to highlight a piece of text. So if we just hold our finger over a piece of text, and then we can click speak. And
committed.
There we go. Now, obviously we're going to want it to speak more than just the occasional word, so in order to select more text, we just hold our finger down, and the little blue circles there, we just drag them over the whole of the the writing that we wanted to speak. There we go. So,
we are committed to enabling schools to support children and young people with sensory impairments to achieve their potential.
And that's speak selection. Now we're going to look at using Safari, the iPad's web browser, to simplify the text that's available on the internet. So we're going to open Safari, and I've got a web page from the RNIB open here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to a page that has an individual news article and then get the iPad to simplify what's on the screen. Now, so for example, if I go to audio here, now looking up at the top of the screen here, you'll see that what's just popped up is the word reader in a little grey box. I'm going to just do that again so that you get to see that again. So it's not there at the moment, but if I go to the actual article within the web page, I see that reader has popped up just at the top of the screen. Now, if I actually click on that button there, what I get is a beautifully simplified version of the news article. So what the iPad has done is it's recognised that there's actually a news article within that web page, and it's just extracted the text and given it so it's a nice, simple, easy to read format. Now, up here we can change the text size. So if I just click on those A's, and then the big A means that I can make that text nice and big for those with low vision. Now, what this also works with, so if I highlight some text there and then move across to highlight the paragraph, I can then speak.
Audiobooks, newspapers and magazines are available to listen to on CD, cassette tape, and in digital formats like MP3.
So the speak selection that we looked at before also works with the screen reader there. The speak selection, of course, also works on the website just as it did previously, but it's quite nice if you've just got the simple text as well. Just another thing that you're able to do. Now the next accessibility setting that we're going to look at is the zoom function, and before we can use it we have to enable it in the settings. So we're just going to go to settings there, and again it's in general and accessibility. So we just scroll there till we get accessibility. Now you'll see that zoom is the second option there in the list, and so that's off at the moment, so we just select that and then we can switch on by just toggling this button here off and on. Now just before we do that, I just want to point out this little instructions here. It says zoom magnifies the entire screen. Double tap 3 fingers to zoom, so that's just that action, and drag the 3 fingers to move around the screen. So that's just this action here, which we'll use in a moment. And to change the zoom, that's to change the magnification, we double tap and then we drag up and we drag down to zoom in or to zoom out. So we're just going to practice that now. So just pop the zoom on there, you'll see already it's zoomed in. Now we can change the magnification, as it said before, double tap and then go up, and you'll see there we've zoomed in, and double tap and go down, and you'll see we've zoomed out. And as it says just in those instructions there, we can move around the screen with our 3 fingers, use any 3 fingers, and here we go. So we can just move to different parts of the screen. We just press the home button there, just a single click, we'll see that the home button is also zoomed. So I'm going to use 3 fingers there, and I'm going to move around and just have a look. Now I'm going to pull up the notes, because just to show you that it works in an application. So we've got the zoom there, and that's just, no, I can't move across there to read the rest of that sentence, and that's because, as we've said before, I just need to use the 3 fingers to zoom across. So we hope you're finding this interesting and useful. Now, if I've finished zooming, I just need to double tap 3 fingers and it's back to the normal magnification. Some people's low vision is best supported by reversing the colours on the iPad. And the way that we do that is we go into settings, and again we're going into general and accessibility, and nice and simple this one, we're just looking for the invert colours option here, and we're just going to toggle that button to on. You'll see what's happened is that the white has become black and the black has become white, more or less, we've also got the high contrast orange in there as well. So now if I go back to the home screen with a single click of the home button, you'll see that change of colour scheme has moved right into the home screen there. And if we just look at the notes, we can see that also applies to apps. So instead of the beige colour that we had here with the black text, we've now got a very dark blue with nice clear white text there. The next accessibility setting that we're going to look at is enlarging the text, and we've got to go back to the settings section there, and again it's general and accessibility. You'll see that the third option down in this list here is large text, so we're just going to click that one there. Now we've got a selection of different fonts here. What is important though is this writing that's just at the bottom, because what this says is view larger text in mail, contacts, calendars, messages and notes, and these are the only apps that this option will work in. So I'm going to choose 48 there. You see we've got a little tick there just to show us that that option has been successful. Now we're going to go back to the home screen, and one of the apps that it said this will work in is Notes. So I'm just going to open Notes there, and you'll see that instead of the tiny little text that we had before, we've got the text in a much larger font to make it easier for many people really to read. The next function that we're going to look at is dictation, and dictation can be used in any app where the keyboard is used. I'm going to use the Notes app today, and just click in there to get the keyboard to pop up to type in a new note, and you'll see just to the left of the spacebar there we've got this little button with a microphone. I'm going to click on that and hold my finger down and say what I need to say and then release it when I'm finished. The iPad has lots of accessibility settings. Now the next thing that I'm going to show you is not an accessibility setting as such, it's just an easy way to switch them on and off. So we're going to go to settings and we're going to go to accessibility again, and we're looking for triple click home. So what we're doing is we're programming the function of the home button here so that when we click it 3 times it has different purposes. So I'm going to select that option, and you can see that we can have the home button do VoiceOver, invert the colours that we mentioned before, zoom that we looked at before, and then there's a thing called assistive touch which we're not looking at in this session. I'm going to leave all those options on, and then I'm going to go back to the home button. Now if I triple click the home button, here we go. So what pops up is the options that we selected earlier. So I can go to invert colours there, and I don't have to go into the settings to do it as we did before, so it just makes things a little bit simpler. Again, click, 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 and invert colours, and I can switch that off. Again, click, 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 and we can switch the zoom off. Or we can enable the zoom again, so that when I do 3 fingers, that option is available. Perhaps one of the most versatile and powerful accessibility settings on the iPad is VoiceOver. And what VoiceOver does is it changes the way that we interact with the whole iPad using completely different gestures and spoken feedback. So if we go into the settings here, and we're going to go into General and back into Accessibility. Now you'll see the top option there is for VoiceOver. Now, just before we switch the VoiceOver option on, I just want to point out a couple of things. We can change the speaking rate just here. We can ask it to speak hints, so I've got that little option enabled. And I've also got it to give typing feedback for characters and words. And we haven't got a hardware keyboard connected, say a Bluetooth keyboard, but if we did, we could change the options just there. I'd also like it to use phonetics, but we'll come on to that later. Now, in terms of controlling the iPad when we have VoiceOver activated, we have to press once to select an option, but then what's different from before is that we then have to double click it to actually choose that option. 3 fingers is to scroll up or to scroll down. So I'm going to enable VoiceOver now.
VoiceOver on. Settings. Landscape. Home button to the right.
And you'll see that it's just reading whatever button is activated there. So, as I said before about moving around the iPad, if I click on this accessibility button, it just reads and gives a little hint as to what that button is. That's the speak hints there. So instead of just saying accessibility, it said accessibility back button. Now, in order to select that button, I need to then go back and
accessibility back
double
button.
click it.
Accessibility back button.
There we go.
Setting vision heading.
So go back into the VoiceOver.
VoiceOver on button.
There we go.
Setting VoiceOver on. Double tap to toggle setting.
If I want to get it to read a piece of text, I can just click on the text.
Tap once to select an item. Double tap to activate the selected item. Swipe 3 fingers to scroll.
Okay. So now if I go to the home button, home
Calendar.
screen.
Sunday the 10th of March. 7 new items. Double tap to open.
It will read whatever's selected. Now, in order to get it to select,
Notes.
I can
Contacts.
move my finger
Reminders. Pages.
across the screen.
Reminders. Contacts. Notes. Double tap to open.
And then if I double tap, you see that what happens is it opens whatever app is selected. So even if I double click down here, it's actually Notes that opens.
Notes. Double tap to open.
Now I can actually get it to scan through so that I can listen to everything that's on the screen. And the way that I do that is 2 fingers and I just scroll down.
Notes. Contacts. Reminders. Pages. Keynote. Numbers. FileMaker Go. Bento. Maps. Calculator. iBooks. iBooks. Store. Button. iBooks.
Okay,
Double tap to open.
so I'll just do that again. Scroll down.
iBooks. iTunes.
And it just
App
reads
Store.
through the list.
Newsstand folder. 9 items. FaceTime. Camera. iPhoto. Clock. Settings. Settings.
And I'm back into the VoiceOver settings, so I can just switch that off.
Settings. Heading. Settings. VoiceOver. On. VoiceOver off.
Now, just to make it easier to switch VoiceOver off and on, you might remember before that we changed the format of the triple click button, and we included VoiceOver in the options that we chose there. So I can just switch it on.
Alert. Accessibility options. Selected. VoiceOver. Button. VoiceOver off.
And off. Now, VoiceOver can also help people with a visual impairment to type. Now, we've got the keyboard up here, and in order to select a letter, what we have to do is drag our finger over it until we get to the right place and we hear the correct key, and then we just lift the finger off the keyboard and that letter will be typed. So,
G Z S A D R D E space A G U Y I O U shift a question mark U.
notice there I had to do the shift before the question mark if we wanted that character. Obviously it's easier if you add a Bluetooth keyboard, and some of those are quite small and quite portable these days. However, that does mean you have to carry something else around you, so there may be times when you do want to use the on-screen keyboard with VoiceOver.